Hi, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about the top 5 skills I see a project manager need as part of their daily life to become a good project manager. It will include things like leadership skills, time management, effective communication, navigating problem solving, and stakeholder management. As a project manager, it's crucial to navigate the complexities of today's dynamic business environment. From effective communication to strategic planning to risk management and stakeholder engagement, these competencies enable success for project delivery. So, the first skill I feel a good project manager must have is leadership skill. As a project manager, what you will be doing is leading individuals, leading a team to deliver a project. I see those skills are really, really key because not are you only delivering a project, you are leading people in the direction to live your vision, to foresee the project, to deliver the end product, and you will be driving and steering the team accordingly. Now, if you don't have leadership qualities, then unfortunately, I think what you'll struggle with, and don't get me wrong initially, but over time you will learn you will struggle to deliver the project. Firstly is vision. They're able to define the project objective with clarity and explain clearly why we're doing what and when we need to deliver it by. Next is decision making. So as a project manager, you will have multiple decisions to make and say, okay, what do we do? We've got a problem here. What shall we do? How do we fix it? You should be able to assess individual situations with all the information and asking the right questions and then making sure that you get enough information to make a good decision. And most importantly, actually making a decision. Now, what we'll find is a lot of project managers are fearful of making a decision. Unfortunately, it's part of the role. However, if you are confident with the information you have, and if you aren't, ask more questions. If you are confident, move ahead because you can adjust the plan as required. And remember, you can only make a decision on the information you have at the time. As a leadership skill, you need good communication skills, which I'll go into a bit more detail later on. But communication is really good. Can you articulate the information to your team in detail with the right information so that they can translate? My role is IT project manager. Been very successful at is the ability to translate business requirements into IT talk. Now that's really important. There's a lot of people who cannot bridge that gap. I have been lucky that I was in the IT arena before, then moved into project management, which has given me that skill set. However, you need to be able to do that and communicate information across different platforms. And through my career, I've had different types of projects and different skill sets, which I've had to adapt my communication as required. One of the leadership skills is good conflict resolution. Very important here. With any project, you are always going to have conflict. There's never going to be a situation where you won't have conflict. There will be disagreements, and the severity of conflict will vary depending on the project. However, as a project manager, your leadership skills kick in here where you can negotiate, work with these people and resolve a conflict and bring people together. That's really key. Next one is adaptability. How you need to adapt and adjust as an individual. Being rigid and set in your ways is not good. You need to be able to change to the situation, adapt, move as the environment moves around you, have people change and be flexible in your approach. Next is coaching. Your leadership skills view. People come to you for information. You don't have all the answers, but again, you can coach people who are junior to you, who you can support and bring them along in the journey. As a project manager, and I put the manager title in there, you are managing people. So therefore, coaching, developing skills and mentoring people through the project life cycle, shall we say, is really key. And then finally, be accountable. Now, a good leader will always take accountability of their decisions and their work and their team and take ownership of whatever comes their way. And that's where you will flourish. So ultimately, leadership skills consist of many things. However, my biggest thing is within leadership skill, if you don't have it, you can learn this skill over time. However, It's a thing that you need to have the bare basics to move within project management. So the next skill I feel is really important is good time management skills. Now, a project manager needs to be really good at managing their time, because in any project, there's a huge amount of work to do, and there's a lot of dependency on the PM to push the project forward. So firstly, when I say time management, the ability to prioritize tasks, identify tasks and prioritize which ones are critical and which need more time and energy, and rather than doing the things you like, understand that you've got a to-do list of 10 things and able to prioritize which ones are important and which ones you can wait and which ones need your immediate attention. And whatever it may be, you need to be able to shift that constantly. Next is good deadline setting. Now, when I say deadline setting, it's being realistic here. Establishing realistic deadlines for each task and milestone within your project, and considering your resource availability, what dependencies, potential risks, and then communicate clearly on those deadlines with your stakeholders. So again, having good deadline setting and management is really key as part of your time management so you deliver. Next one is project timeline management. So developing and maintaining a comprehensive project timeline. So basically, what we're going to do from point A to point B, C, D onwards, and building that timeline so that you have clear understanding of tasks, how long it's going to take, what dependencies are the milestones, and monitor that through the project and adjust it all the time. So you have to be on top of that, reviewing it daily and having a blocking time at whatever it may be to do that work and make sure that you're able to maintain that project timeline and foresee the next event and plan ahead. The next one is time blocking, which I just covered, is utilizing time blocking techniques to allocate dedicated time slot for your specific work, task, and making sure that you don't have distractions and you focus. And that's a big challenge. Even I struggle with that sometimes because I'm running at 100 miles an hour and you're trying to do everything and make sure it gets done. Remember, block some time out to review your projects, review your raid logs, review your project plan, review your stakeholders, meet them and understand where you're going so you can so you've got a clear strategy on what direction you're going. And finally is time tracking analysis. Now, when I say that is basically putting a tool in place where you can track what's going on in essence. So monitor actual time spent on tasks, identify task leaks, make data-driven adjustments to improve time management through your project. So those, I would say, in the simplest form is a Gantt chart, and making sure that you look at that and think, oh, okay, what we predicted was going to take 5 days, it's taken 3 days. So we've got 2 days in hand. Let's build that into our contingency, or we've done it for 5 days and we've overrun by 3 days. How does that affect everything else? And making sure that you are tracking and analyzing the impact of everybody's activity throughout the project. And don't get me wrong, this activity is very time consuming. However, it's very valuable as a project manager. So the next skill I see as quite crucial is communication skills. Now, as a project manager, you are communicating daily. Like I'm doing in this video, I am communicating with you, trying to articulate the right information. And trust me, we don't always get it. But communication is one of those things that you learn. As you progress, you will learn to adapt your communication to your project and the people around you. However, the key elements of communication is as follows. Firstly, you must understand communication channels. Here, you identify and utilize appropriate communication such as email, meetings, instant messaging, and making sure that you have identified the right ones for the right people at the right time and the frequency as well. That's really key. Next one is be an active listener. Now, one of the things I've noticed is in projects, sometimes the project manager will run 100 miles an hour, but do not listen to the people with the problems who are on the ground, who are doing the work, and actually have a lot of information to input. Be an active listener within your project so that you can analyze the information, maintaining a good eye contact, or making sure that you giving them the space to talk, and then assessing that information in your head and then replying effectively. Next is clear and concise messaging. Now, we get this wrong all the time. Getting a clear, concise message across avoids jargon. Sometimes on email, there's a degree of ambiguity. It does lead to misunderstanding. Verbally is really good, but follow it with email. Spend time talking clearly, spend time projecting what you want to say in detail, in the right format, in the right way, so that the message gets across. And I would also add, make sure you ask the question, was that clear? Did you understand? If you do not add that at the end, people will tend to just fob it off. So talk less, listen more, and when you do talk, be clear and concise with your messaging. Next one is provide timely feedback. Now here, what you'll find is a lot of project managers the workload is massive, they're busy. However, make sure you are feeding back at regular intervals. Establish that open and timely feedback. So I have morning stand-ups every day where we have that communication with the team. In the afternoon, I have one-to-one catch-ups with senior individuals, 15-minute slots, 20-minute slots, not too long. And then on a weekly basis, we get the whole team together for an hour to talk about the whole project so people understand that and keep that frequency going. So there's that consistency. However, you also need to drop in meetings where needed to discuss specific points, and then ask for positive feedback, constructive feedback, and ask how we can continuously improve. That's one of the things that you must do within that. As a project manager, you're not perfect. If there's something wrong, ask, am I doing this? Next one is emotional intelligence. Now, this I feel is a very underrated skill set within the communication arena. If you need to develop emotional intelligence skills to understand and manage emotions. You are dealing with people, you are dealing with varying types of people from all walks of life, different backgrounds. Having that emotional intelligence skill set to understand and help and manage emotions and build trust and foster effective collaboration is really key. When we say emotional intelligence, is actually having the ability to understand the individual and see things from their side, and then work with them, be receptive to their needs rather than dismissive. And that's really important. Actually being a person and talking to these people will build bridges, and you'll find that your communication bridge, it will be smaller, and that you're actually building good trust and fostering effective collaboration with colleagues. And the last one I would say is adapt your communication style. Not everybody likes to be spoken to. Not everybody likes emails. Not everybody likes meetings or stand-ups, whatever it may be. Change it to suit the individual. And that kind of fits in with your emotional intelligence as well. If you understand the individual a bit more, you will find that you will have to adapt and learn to adapt how you communicate. The next skill I think is really important is being a good problem solver. As a project manager, there are always problems within your project, and you need to be able to learn how you manage those problems and resolve those problems. Now, my thought process is when you first start, it's difficult, but as a project manager, one of the skills you must have is getting a problem, assessing it, and then making a decision on how you work around it, fix the problem, or accept it, whichever way it may be. Firstly, is analytic thinking, carefully examining the problem from multiple angles, getting the information, asking questions, saying, give me this, give me that, and then making a logical decision on how to resolve a problem. Next is be creative. Sometimes what you do for one problem doesn't work for another problem, but think outside the box and see how you can make the problem better by thinking outside the box. Again, when I say problem solving, it's not solely on yourself. Rely on your sources to feed into you so that you can make that decision on how best to tackle a problem. Look at innovative ideas. Look at other teams, at what they might be doing, how they might be doing it. Don't simply try to invent something that doesn't exist. If there's people doing things differently, adapt and learn. And that flows on to the next one, adaptability. Embracing a change, adjusting your strategies or plans as circumstances evolve, and that's really key. So demonstrating that you're flexible and you can adapt to new things is one of your skill sets that you must have as a good problem solver. Can you adapt? Can you be flexible? If things suddenly go all wrong. How do you manage that is really key. Be adaptable, adjust and say, okay, we had plan A, it's not quite worked. Let's go with plan B. This is what we'll do now. The next one is continuous improvement. Get your team to foster and feed into you. The more they feed into you, the more you will be able to solve problems. And that also means that you learn from your team regards to how they do the problem solving. Can you adapt that? Speak to other project managers, speak to other key stakeholders and say, how would you do that? And seek advice. One of the things about problem solving is don't just try to fix it yourself. Seek advice, get advice from individuals. The final one I see as one of the most important skills is good stakeholder management. Now, everything I've spoken about, leadership, communication, etc., all feed into stakeholder management, which are really key. So eventually all of those skill sets will feed into good stakeholder management. Now, as part of stakeholder management within project management, you will be engaging at multiple levels. Now, if you aren't good with people, then project management is not the thing you should be involved in. You are constantly involved with people from different regions, different backgrounds, different abilities, etc., which will feed into your project. And it's how you manage your stakeholders that's really key. So the first one is, as part of this skill, is how you identify your stakeholders. How are you able to identify them, determine who does what within your organization or project so that you can get the best out of them. You then analyze those stakeholders, assess the stakeholder level of interest, their influence, and the potential impact, and prioritize them accordingly. You need to understand who does what, where, and what role they play within your project and how important they are within your project, so that you understand what type of communication you do, how you manage them with your leadership, etc. And then you can manage that stakeholder as effectively as possible. Then you plan your engagement strategy. Again, that feeds into your communication. You'll develop a tailored approach for engaging with each one of your stakeholders or groups. Here it's really important that you consider their needs and preferences for their communication channels. As a project manager, you must have the ability to assess and understand how individuals want to be spoken to or how they want to be engaged with as part of your project. That is really key. Get agreement. Now, the good news is you'll generally get good consensus across the board regarding this when you approach it within your kickoff meetings. However, you do have individuals who prefer different methods and you need to adapt. Next is communicate and collaborate. So initiate and maintain open, transparent, and a two-way communication with everyone. It's really key. Make sure that you are a good listener, which I said earlier with part of your communication, and that you are listening and addressing concern, incorporating their feedback into your project each time. If you're ignoring people, people will start throwing up their walls and stop engaging with you, and that's really dangerous. So make sure that it's a two-way forum, that you are continually allowing people to talk, you are listening, and you are feeding. Next is monitor and adapt. Now here, you need to monitor the situation, and then how do you adapt with your stakeholder? Initially, you will probably spend loads of time with senior stakeholders and very little time with the engineer. But as you develop the project, when you're actually delivering, you are spending more and more time with your engineering team and less time with your stakeholder. However, you may need to balance that so that your senior stakeholders you are communicating with them and engaging with them so they know what's going on and where you are. So remember, always monitor and adapt and assess. And I would do that weekly. Just say, okay, provide a touch base. If you haven't, put something in the diary, add it into there. And then finally, make sure that you formally disengage with stakeholders. And this is one stage that a lot of people forget within project management. It's really key. As a project manager, you need to have this skill where you disengage with your stakeholders so that actually you close the project and you finish those and you assess and make sure you've learned what things you could do better, what things you did well, and just don't talk about the negative, make sure it's positive as well, and then progress forward. To summarize, the top 5 skills I see with that project manager must have is good leadership skills, good time management, good communication, good problem solving, and finally, good stakeholder management. Now, within those, they do cross each other, but they're really key. Remember, each one of these skills, I think you can learn However, one of the things I do say is that if you don't like being around people, project management isn't for you. You should be a people person. You should be able to approachable. You want to be there. You should be able to talk to people. You have energy within that conversation. And I feel that these top 5 skills are really important to give you the good foundation to move into the project management arena. Or if you're already there, you can see where you aren't quite so strong and develop those skills. I think the most important thing is always evaluate, are you doing it right? Do I need to adapt? Do I need to change? Can I do things better? Go approach other project managers, learn from them. And I've done it multiple times where I've done something and then suddenly I see somebody else doing something differently and I think, actually, that's a good idea. Embrace that, bring it into your project, and you'll find that you will become better and better at project management. And over time, you will become a skilled professional. Thank you. That concludes the video for today. If you liked what you heard, please click on the like button and subscribe.